Dawn from La Vintage Decor, and today I'm going to show you some jewelry techniques that I just kind of dreamed up when I was working on another project. Sometimes that happens, that you have an idea and you start doing it and then you get another idea along the way. So see my dog Chris in the background. So he likes to come on camera whenever possible. So what I'm working with is IOD molds and IOD air dry clay. There's a brand new formulation of air dry clay, and it's amazing stuff. It's very squishy and workable. I've been working with this package. It comes in a new larger package, and it's just fantastic. So what I'm doing is I'm also working with Dixie, Belle, Patina. So I'm using the bronze patina, and we're using the green spray with it. So I've done a few in various stages so that you can see what we're doing, and I'll take you from start to finish on the project. So the first thing, I'm working with some metal filigrees, and you can get these at jewelry supply stores. So the first one I want to show you is some of the ones that are already finished and ready. That is a perfectly patinaed bumblebee on a filigree background. Okay. And here's another popular motif, is the crown. And again, that's already done. And here's another crown. Okay. So these will just need sealed, but I want to show you from start to finish and in the various stages. So I'm going to grab one of the filigrees here, and I'll grab one that's kind of oval. And then we'll need a design to put on that. And the ones that, when you have one that's an oval, you want kind of an up and down design. So I was working on it with two different sets of molds, the cherub wings and also the one with the bees and the crowns. So bees and crowns are really popular motifs right now. So I'm gonna kind of stick with that. These are also laurel wreaths, which are pretty, and there's so many possibilities for jewelry with these, but I will actually go ahead and do another bee. Okay. So I just washed these molds. The condition that they were in was a little bit powdery and messy. This is cornstarch. The new molds have this micro edge, which is awesome, and I'll show you just how easy it is to work with that. But it's recommended with the new air dry clay that you dust the mold with a little bit of cornstarch. And my brush is a little wet, so I'm just going to actually just sprinkle some in. And this just helps it release easier. Okay. Dust that around a little bit and shake off the excess. And I'm going to have a mess to clean up later. Okay, so I'm going to grab a little bit of the air dry clay, little mold so we don't need that much, and just squish it together and just press it in the mold. I really put a lot in there. So I'm just going to pull the excess away, most of the excess, not worrying about it too much. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Just in there. And then I'm just going to take a straight edge, which in this case is an emery board, and just pull it across, and that micro edge keeps all the clay in the mold. I like to go one way and then the other. And there's so much cornstarch in there that it's already starting to peel up, which normally you can flip it, but this guy is just pulling right out. And look, what a perfect image. Okay. So we're gonna put the mold aside, and I'm using Aleene's tacky glue right now. And just see now the mold is still wet. And you can glue it while it's wet, and the glue and the motif can all dry at once. If you're really in a hurry, you can add a drop of glue, hot glue, to this, and then you'll have an even quicker dry time. You'll be able to work on it a lot faster, and it'll keep it in place, because sometimes I forget that step and I start working on it impatiently, and then my molds kind of shift. Gravity takes them down if it's something on an angle. So I used a brush to just finish spreading the glue around, and I'm just going to get the filigree, and these ones have a hole in the top because if they're going to be pendants, so I want to be mindful of that. The bee could go either way, but actually just put it down, and I'm pretty happy with the placement. I've got a little bit, but pretty happy with that. So I'm just gonna press it into place, and that's step one. So like I said, if you had added then an extra little bit of hot glue, then you could start working on this guy right away. But if you didn't, then let's set it aside to dry. Okay. So then it's dry. And then the next step that I did was to paint a little bit on the piece. Now what I did was I chose to use 2 Dixie Belle colors, and I used mermaid tail and kudzu. Okay, and I love the way these two look on there. When you're working with the patina paint, you should give it a base coat of a color in any color you like before you proceed to the next step. So in this case, I used 2 colors, the mermaid tail and the kudzu. Now what you're seeing along the outside is called prime start. Anytime that you use the patina paint and you paint on metal, you want to prime it first. The reason for that is because there's metal in the paint, and the spray actually causes it to oxidize and rust, which is the effect that you get. So if you don't, considering the item you're painting is metal, the oxidization will continue unless you prime it. So that's just a little tip, an extra thing that you want to get is the prime start. Okay, at least that's my explanation. I think it's the right one. Okay, so then the next step on this one would be to use the metallic paint, or the bronze paint, and I'll show you that step. Now I think that this step is pretty self-explanatory. I really just randomly painted with just a small brush in those on the actual mold, which is dry, but with the other ones, or with the edge around it, the remaining metal, I just painted with the prime start. So here's Grizz again. Okay, so I am using bronze and just a small brush, and I'm just going to, again, randomly paint, because I do want some of that beautiful color that I painted on there to peek through. That's the fun of putting the undercoat on there. But I'm gonna coat all of the metal. So more of that. Okay, that's good enough for me. I'm gonna call that done. So that's one coat. You let that dry, and it's gonna dry very, very quickly. Okay, and then it's going to look like this one. Yeah. Okay, it's gonna look like this one. So what I've done here then is already put that first coat on. Now I'm gonna put the second coat on this one because it's dry. And I'm just gonna go right back over the places that I chose before to put the bronze. Okay, so now I already have a little roadmap or a guideline, and I can begin to do that. Just follow along. And if I see any other spots that I want to cover, I'll do that. So, like that. Now, the good thing about this is we don't have to wait for this now to dry. So I'm gonna put. Oh, wait a second. I was gonna put my my clay away, but it doesn't dry that fast. So let's hold this paper towel over here. Okay. So my bronze paint is it is drying, or it's still wet. So always with Patina products, the Prime Star, the base coat, which comes in bronze, copper, and iron, you want to shake the products, okay? And so I shook the Patina spray, and I'm just going to spray a little bit on, okay? No need to douse it like crazy, but from my experience, what I usually do is I let this sit a little bit, and then I'll come back to it in a few minutes and do it again. So this one that I just did a base coat on is probably dry enough now that I can put a little bit more on it. It really dried quickly. Put a little bit more on it and then do the Patina spray on it as well. And it's such a magical thing that happens, and you just really literally, it's like time-lapse photography. You get to watch the rust or the oxidization happen right before your eyes. Now, it's not immediate, but what you can do is just seriously, if you come back, sometimes you can see it happen. Sometimes you walk away 5 minutes and you come back and you're like, oh, look what happened. It can continue to oxidize up to 24 hours or more. So what I recommend you do is when you get it to that look that you like, just use one of the Dixie Belle sealers, and then the oxidization will stop and it'll stay as you like it, okay? So again, that's one of my favorite ones there. I love the crown motif. I love the way the shading came out. Another thing I like to do is I like to swab this, okay? I just like the effect that I get when I do that. Okay. So again, I sprayed that one once. Just gonna put a little bit more on there. And then I'm gonna be patient and set it aside to dry. I do want to show you one other thing while we're on the subject of jewelry. And what I'm going to do is just move this out of the way. And look at my tablecloth. What a mess, huh? That's what the laundry is for. And then I'm going to flip this over just to give you a surface to look at. And I'm going to take another mold. And I'm going to use feathers this time. And we're going to do very similar to what I did the last time. I'm going to find the brush that I used for the cornstarch. This is the one. And just, let me see, how big would you like your feather necklace to be? Actually, let's use a larger one. I was actually thinking the great big wings would be really cool to use as a sun catcher too. So you're going to need some jump rings for this, and I don't have them here, so I'm going to pause a second and go get some. Okay, I got a few jump rings, and I'm going to finish dusting. No, I did dust both feathers in. So I'm ready to go. Again, I'll grab the clay, and sometimes when you're working on a long, skinny piece, you can just kind of make a rope of clay, and and then just press it down. Gently remove the excess with your thumb and your fingers. Just getting most of it off because we're going to come back with a flat edge and really get rid of the rest of the excess. Beautiful. The silicone is the best material ever. I use these because they're heat resistant. So lots of times I'll just flip this over and use it as a pad for my hot glue gun. You know, you can use hot glue in these molds. That's one thing you can do. I've heard people using all kinds of things with them, but hot glue is really easy. But I love the new clay. So see how easily when you dust them with the cornstarch that pops out. Okay, I'm just going to set it aside for a second, and I'm going to do the other long feather. This clay, in the past, some of the clay that I've used, and even the old formula, if I had been using clay I had set back in the bag, it just wouldn't be as nice as this is. But this really is a great formula. Okay. Get some excess. It just is so eager to pop out of the mold and become something beautiful. More beautiful than it already is. It's beautiful all by itself. I love the castings that you get from these. Another medium you can use is casting resin. There's amazing casting resin. It comes in white and clear, depending on what your project is. So I would use white if you're making jewelry, and then it's very paintable. See, like I said, it's so anxious to get out and become something. In this case, a piece of jewelry. You know, you can put this on furniture. And again, I was doing some Easter eggs too, so I'll be doing another video to show you the Easter eggs. So, you know, these don't have to be perfect, but for what I'm doing, I kind of want them to be as close to perfection as possible. Okay, so we're going to set the mold aside. Clean this off so you can see a little contrast. So here's what we have. And what I'm going to do is put glue on the back of both and brush it out. Be super generous because we're putting them together, so they both have glue on them, but they will adhere to each other much better. That's the one I had bronze paint on, I guess. Okay. On that note, you probably should use gloves with it. So I'll be washing my hands here, but I'll be washing them anyway because I'll be having glue on me. You know, your hands are the first tools you were ever given. So artists' hands are usually a mess. So I'll take messy hands because I love to see and create all kinds of things. You know, we're so lucky that we're given other great tools like the IOD molds and stamps and transfers. Oh my gosh, it just lets your creativity run wild. And if you don't feel confident in certain areas, then it allows you to look like a pro. And then when you have these great ideas you can layer with, that's just amazing what you can come up with. So, glad to be along for the ride. Okay, so what I'm going to do is join these together then to give it a little bit of dimension. So in this case, I want it to be a necklace, so I'm going to need a jump ring. So I can just build this jump ring right into the mold here. So I'll put it where that stem, I guess that's where I'll do it. Seems like that would be a weak point. This is what I did with the other one. This was from the same mold that I had the wings from, but it was a flower. So we took, whenever you see two on there, they're usually back and front, so you can join them together. Okay? So that's what we did, and let it dry, and the jump ring is now part of it. Okay? So if I were going to wear this, I think I would want to wear the feather with the stem up. So I'm going to take a chance and put it on that weak point. So, but we're just going to stack these together. And I think this will work fine. Put a little something underneath there. I'm going to support it with my finger there. Okay, you don't want to press too hard because you don't want to compromise the beautiful mold that you just made. And then I flip it over and do the same thing. Kind of want to inspect. Use this as a tool to just put underneath there as a support. So I press that down. You know, I'm working from home today, and we just moved the old studio to the new store, and we're on this week going to have our first class, which is called Boot Up, and it's redo your old boots with paint and Dixie Belle paint and the IOD transfers. So that's exciting, but what I was going to tell you is that I'm working from home today, so sometimes I forget things. So when you don't have all your tools with you, then you just make do with what you have. So that was my point. So I'm just kind of trying to line that up. Just put it together as much as possible, and the glue sort of makes a nice seam on there. See what I'm doing? Do this side. Just kind of pressing it together. Make sure it's lined up. Because you just want that as smooth as possible. So you're going to get a glue line on there, and you can just either use your brush or your fingers and just smooth it along that seam. I have some other molds that I'm anxious to work with, and they're actually vintage candy molds, and they're Easter bunnies. And I bought some cement, and I'm going to be playing with cement and those, so stay tuned for that. Okay, I think this is good, and I'm going to let it dry. And then what we'll end up with is this. And this is hard. So what I will do then with this piece is the very same thing that I did with the filigree pieces with the molds, and just simply paint them and patina them. That's my plan. When you put these on the chain, you can add things to them. You know, I think I found this whenever I was looking for my jump ring, but this is a cross. So that would be beautiful, and maybe a bead of some sort, because things done in threes are always pleasing to the eye. So again, we're going to set this aside, and that is all you need for that project. And then just some basic jewelry making, jewelry making tools and processes to put put it back together. So I really appreciate you joining me today to welcome to my world, and show you some of my ideas and some of the things that I do with the IOD and the Dixie Belle paint and the other things that I find to create with. So if you liked what you saw, I'd appreciate if you would like the video, and it would also be awesome if you would share it with your other friends that you know would appreciate it. And also, I'm trying to build my YouTube channel, so if you would subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. So, also visit my Facebook page. It's La Vintage Decor Altoona. I'm in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and La Vintage Decor is at Love It La Vintage. There's 2 stores under one roof, and it's a fun place, so you should Google it if you're in town. Love It La Vintage, Altoona, Pennsylvania. And also La Vintage Decor on Instagram and Pinterest. So, and La Vintage Decor channel again on YouTube. So thank you so much, and happy creating, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.